The biggest winner in the big game could be you, thanks to BetMGM. The king of sportsbooks is offering new customers a chance to score $158 in bonus bets instantly. That's right, instantly. Just download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code Vegas58. Then place a $5 moneyline wager on the big game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of your wager's outcome. Don't miss your opportunity to cross the goal line on the money line as pro football's top teams clash for the championship. Can't be in Vegas for the big game? Then bring the big game excitement to you with the king of sportsbooks. BetMGM and GameSense reminds you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Iowa only. New customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF. That's 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Way back in 2005, two brothers set off on a road trip that would save the world and change television.
The Everly Brothers?
No, not the Everly Brothers. For 15 seasons and 327 episodes, Supernatural took audiences on a wild ride of family, fate, and faith with a rocking soundtrack and a seriously cool car.
But that was then, Bobo, and this is now. And yes, the show has quote-unquote ended, but we're not quite done with the journey.
No, we're not.
And that's why we're watching it all over again, or for Rob and me, for the first time,
That's right.
diving deep into every episode of Supernatural with the fine folks who made it. And we're taking you along for the ride.
Whether you like it or not. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
Spoiler!
Yeah, it is a bit of a spoiler, but hey, spoilers are fair game here.
Fine. And I'm Richard Speight Jr., and I played the Trickster, also known as the Archangel Gabriel, and I did a little bit of Loki work in there.
Okay, you know we're running out of time.
Okay, well, we'll be talking about the entire series, so whatever we say, accept it. You've been warned.
So buckle up and settle in.
Because this, my friend, is Supernatural, then and now.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Benedict.
And I'm Richard Speight.
And this is Season 1, Episode 20 of Supernatural, Dead Man's Blood.
Ooh, grody.
Yeah, this is the first one in a very strong finish of Season 1. A trio of episodes. I like to call the trilogy. I'd never called it the trilogy ever before.
I didn't know what you were saying. You're like, this is the first of the last one. I'm like, I'm really confused.
This is the first of the last 3 episodes of a very strong Season 1.
Yeah, very strong Season 1. A lot of people thought the show wasn't going to get picked up for a full season even, but it did. And then it continued on. And this was the last 3 episodes, the first of the last 3, what Rob likes to call the ending trilogy, if you will.
Right. A new hope of the final 3 episodes. Oh boy, I've lost myself now. All right, let's get into it.
All right.
Daniel Elkins is brutally murdered. Sam and Dean discover his contact information in Dad's journal.
Not Danny.
Yeah, old Danny Elkins. How did did we know him before?
No, I didn't.
Okay, because Sam's like, Pastor Elkins?
Yeah, it was one of those things where they just leaped to this backstory.
Yeah, like we all know him.
I thought I'd missed something, you know.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, the brothers head to the scene of the crime, Manning, Colorado. The boys find a letter intended for John Winchester, Dad.
For the kids at home, a letter is a piece of paper that somebody writes on, a message, well-wishing, or a thank you card, or just information. They fold that letter up. They put it in an envelope. It's called an envelope.
They fax it to you. They fax it?
No. They don't fax it to you. They actually lick they lick the back, close it, and put what's called a postage stamp on the front, and an address.
What?
Yeah, it's already lost you.
You're weirding me out. All right, well, before they can open this letter, John shows up. Yep, he's back, guys. Dad is back. And we learn that Daniel Elkins was a known vampire hunter and a mentor for John. He also had a special gun that could kill anything.
That's cool.
Even something supernatural.
Yeah,
very cool. Cool gun. John explains that Elkins was killed by vampires, and now they have the gun. John wants the gun because he believes he's close to tracking down the demon that killed Mom.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that demon. The demon it's all coming together, guys, in this trilogy.
So this is it, season 1, and then the show's over because they're going to wrap it all up.
Oh, I hope, well, if they're alive, I don't even know. The vampires have recently captured a couple, and the trio is able to track them down to an old barn.
Why is it the vampires are always in an old barn? No new construction for the vampires, you know what I mean?
No, they love old barns. They just love old barns. They like chickens and things that live in old barns.
They're fans of antiques.
So they track down the couple, and they enter with machetes, intending to behead the vampires, because that's how you kill them. That's what Dad said.
For those who are fans of Rob and Rich's podcast, we don't mean they enter with a bunch of J.C. Hayeses. These are not.
That's right. That's right.
Not the machete. She doesn't enter.
Right. No.
By the way, the vampires were thanking their lucky stars that JC didn't come in there because that machete was in no mood.
True. Yeah, they should have done that. No, this is machete with a lowercase m. So Sam attempts to save the captured woman, but she's already turned into a bloodsucker and yells out a scream, alerting the nest of vampires to the Winchester's presence.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Yeah, it was a big bummer. Dean goes to steal some dead man's blood from the morgue.
Like you do.
Yeah, like you do, which you may not know is actually a poison to vampires. So it leads the scene to John to have a sit down with Sam. They're at the cabin preparing. They have a real heart-to-heart. Later that evening, they set a trap for the vampires. Dean fakes car trouble, and they are able to capture Kate, the lead female vampire, to use as bait for Luther, her lover, and the king vampire, the lead vampire. John wants to exchange her for the gun. During the exchange, a fight ensues. John is able to get the gun, but Sam gets captured by Luther.
Oh.
John shoots Luther in the head. The other vampires run to escape. John and the boys agree they're stronger as a family, and they go to hunt Mary's killer together. Well,
that was it.
Richard,
I'm going diving right into this review. What a great episode. What a great episode.
Oh, man. I'm on the edge of my seat for all three of these episodes that are coming up. If I haven't said that already.
This three, the one you call the trilogy? This is, yeah. It's so good. It's so violent. For starters, you got to love when Dad and the boys are together. Like, it's just good TV.
And not only is it good, it's great acting. There's such great chemistry between those guys. And the testosterone between them. I mean, just the manhood that oozes from the screen when those three are together, huh?
For anybody who's got the stopwatch on how deep into the podcast we get before Rob says the word manhood, you can stop your watch. It's right there. It's a new record. Sigh. But you know what? Here's the thing.
Am I wrong?
No, I mean, you're always right when it comes to manhood, but here's what I'm going to say. They're so, like, the story is so good now with those guys getting mad at each other, like unraveling the past, I guess what I'm getting at. Like the father-son dynamics are just coming out in big, big ways in this episode, and it's really cool.
Yeah, really cool. And you know, you really, you get to dive into the psychological dynamic between Sam and his dad, which, you know, we really haven't addressed yet. That's what's so satisfying about this finale of this season is like, we haven't addressed these things before, and we get to see a lot of this stuff come back up. And, yeah, that's a big one. Now, you had said before, you had said that you thought that Dad liked Dean the best. But in this one, it kind of explains a little bit more, I think, why his relationship with Sam is just different.
It's different. And I'm not sure that my opinion is the same after watching this. He's really hard on Dean, man. Like, he's bitching about the car. He's like, I wouldn't have given you the car if I knew you were going to let it rust.
Yeah. And Dean is that same way to Sam.
Yeah. And then Sam is a real... Why are we doing this? You know, he's a big authority questioner, unlike Dean, who's a, you know, aye, Captain, we'll do as instructed type guy. It's a really interesting dynamic, the triangle dynamic between them all, and how Dean gets so annoyed with Sam for pushing back against Dad. And then you notice that shift when finally Dean goes, yeah, you know what? I think Sam's right. Like Sam pivots, like whips his head, like, holy cow, you're going to agree with me? You know, it was nice to see the brothers unite for what they thought was the right thing to do in the face of the dad. And what makes these episodes so well written and so well thought out and planned is that the dynamics between the three men that we're talking about, the dad and the two sons, are so layered. It's not clear cut like Dad's a hard ass and the boys have to fend for themselves. Ergo, they develop these personalities. Like Dad's got real reasons to be hard on the boys, at least reasons he believes in, you know, that are for the boys' safety, to solve this issue that has plagued his family. He wants the boys with him, but he wants the boys not with him because he wants them to be safe. Like, it's so complex. It's so well done.
No, it really is. It really is. Really well done. Really well written. But yeah, you're exactly right. There's an individual energy, unique energy going on between each of the three in the triangle, right? Uniquely.
Yeah.
And it's real something to watch. So that scene between Sam and Dad, I thought was great. Yeah, that was a funny little note. Like, it's very, just the clothing of 2006 was kind of funny to me. You know, the baggy jeans, the long jackets. Just to note how the wardrobe changed a little bit with the times.
I did notice that. I did notice that sort of the flared jeans are a funny little nod to the times. You know what I thought was
Yeah,
interesting?
yeah.
Like, if we want to get specific about this episode that I thought was trippy, two things. Number one, they really leaned heavily on the Lost Boys image of vampires. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Cool.
The Jason Patrick, Jamie Gertz, Kiefer Sutherland Lost Boys movie of the 80s or 90s. It was the 80s, right? Late 80s?
Late 80s, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like they had an updated version of that where it was called very, very rock and roll vampire, you know?
Definitely.
And I thought that it was trippy. Rob, I truly want to know if you noticed this. So remember when Sam thinks he's rescuing the woman who's held captive and she screams? Remember that? He breaks into the barn and he's saying,
"Oh yes. And she screams as a vampire."
Right. And we think that he thinks he's saving her, that she's not a vampire yet.
Yes.
Did you notice that they didn't show her face when she screamed? Did you?
Yeah.
I thought that was weird. Like they never cut to her face. To me, that was a shot you would have of like her kind of asleep and looking and then go, and see that turn of her.
Maybe they got
shrieking.
a different voice to do it or something, and it looked too weird.
I wondered. Like, you know, I feel like there's always a story behind, because that's obviously a shot. This is a well-directed episode by a veteran director. That's definitely a shot that exists. Did you notice it? Now that I tell you, do you notice it?
Now that you say it, I remember it. Yeah, I didn't think it at the time.
It struck me as really weird because it was like it was such that moment of like the Donald Sutherland Invasion of the Body Snatchers moment where you think you're talking to somebody who is of your mindset, and then you realize, oh no, they're possessed. It was just I thought for sure we were missing something there.
Yeah. The other note like that I would make about this episode is I loved Dad's jacked up truck. I loved the whole thing of everything that was going on there. And they don't even comment on it, but his trunk that's like, he's got the high level trunk with all the best weapons. Yeah. Drawers come out.
You need a machete, Dad? I'm like good, son.
A staircase leading to another level.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a British double-decker bus of weaponry.
Yeah, exactly. So I give it. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a full 100%. The best beard you've seen. Yeah, not too groomed, but just groomed enough.
Yeah, I'm going to the Jason Mann's, the full beard. Very, very solid growth, thick growth. Nothing patchy. Yeah, a uniform in color. You know, good beard. Yeah. So here's a question, or an admission I should make. I did not know until we've been sitting here. So we're in episode 20 of 22 of season 1. And I'm confessing for the first time, I didn't realize how much Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in this series.
Oh, really?
I thought he had popped in for the pilot and maybe popped in for the finale. He's in and out this whole season. I had no idea.
Yeah, I knew that. And I knew we lose him early. But
man.
I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but yeah, no, this is a cool little run here at the end.
Yeah, it's a good role. It's good. You know, much more involved than I thought.
He's such a heavy hitter. You know, it's cool to tell people like, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was on our show. You know, he's such a well-respected guy.
Oh yeah, he's had a heck of a career post Supernatural.
Yeah.
Speaking of guys who've had just stellar careers, we have a very, very, very special guest on our show today.
First assistant director and co-producer Kevin Parks.
That's right.
He worked on 142 episodes of Supernatural.
Let's say that again: 142 episodes of Supernatural. That's a boatload of episodes of television, man.
It really, really, really is. Even directing 2 episodes in 2013.
Awesome.
Other TV credits include Millennium, Andromeda, Highlander, Superman and Lois, and Day of the Dead.
Ladies and gentlemen, freshly tanned from his trip to the Caribbean, Kevin Parks.
Hello, everybody.
Kevin is responsible. Just to break it down in Robbie terms, Kevin is the man that kept the set together. He kept it operating, kept it intact. He was the glue. He's the first AD, and his job is to keep those 2 animals, numbers 1 and 2, in place at the right time and keep everyone else in place. And he did that for us for many, many, many years. And he's a mainstay from the beginning.
Absolutely. But that leads us to say, what is your beginning? Like, what was your entree into Supernatural? How'd you get involved with the show?
I was basically looking for work. My wife came back from a lunch, finishing off wrapping a show. She heard that George Grieve, who was the first PM on the show, had a new show. So I called George and I went down to the office. Cyrus was there. Remember Cyrus?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Basically, it wasn't really an interview. It was, okay, you're starting. and you're doing the first episode.
Wow.
One of the easiest jobs I probably ever got.
And now, did you always alternate episodes?
Yes.
They did that from the beginning.
There's always been 2 first ADs.
Who was the other first AD when you started? Was it Johnny Mac?
No, it was Greg Fawcett.
I don't know. I don't remember Greg.
He didn't last until he lasted probably episode 8.
Uh-oh.
Then Blair Freeman Roth came in for a couple episodes, and Johnny Mac started right after Christmas.
Oh, wow.
So here's my question. You say that they gave you the job, like sitting in the chair in the office, meeting with Cyrus. Obviously, you're a man with a great resume and you're a catch. But were they under the gun? I mean, meaning like, were they starting the next day? It sounds like it was a quick process, quick turnaround.
Well, I mean, I've worked with George Grieve, the PM, a lot. So we had a relationship. So when I called them and they were looking first, it's like it was kind of for him a no-brainer.
And listen, we break this down a little bit sometimes for people who watch or listen to the podcast because they don't know all the behind-the-scenes lingo. So you're saying UPM. Unit production manager. And what would that entail him doing?
He basically looks for crew that he knows can trust, and basically with people who follow him from show to show because they know how he works. And that's his job is basically hiring the crew and getting all the deals done. So when they go to production, we have a full crew.
Does that crew include hair and makeup?
Yeah, hair, makeup, everybody.
Everybody.
As Rob was sort of describing the Robbie version of the AD, how would you describe the AD job yourself?
It's a project, in real world speak, it's a project manager. You take the script apart, you make the schedule out of it with the input from the director, and what also we need to worry about with the financial end, how much time and money we have to do. And then you make the schedule, and then from there you go with the director and basically execute the schedule on set by basically every day making sure we have what we need for each sequence.
That's definitely a more intricate version than the story that I told.
They both work. They both work.
Well, I don't know if they do. I don't know if mine really works. It's nice to have a professional.
The film industry has a lot of anachronisms, like first AD, second AD, DOP, all this. So it's like, for anybody in the real world, it's a project manager.
Right.
They all come in different forms through different things, construction to entertainment to doing computer programs to do anything. They all kind of entail a different kind of idea,
Sure. So we're talking about the episode Dead Man's Chest.
Blood, isn't it?
Dead Man's Blood. Dead Man's Blood, not to be mistaken for Dead Man's Chest, which I believe is...
Listen, I can tell you, just for everybody, here's why Rob just said that. Because Kevin looks real good. He's real tan, real fit, and his shirt is open a little bit. And Rob gets a little bamboozled when he sees skin. And so...
And I got Johnny Depp on my mind. I think it's a
pirate movie reference.
Pirates of the Caribbean reference.
Anyway, so Rob's a little flushed
Dead Man's
right now.
Blood. So Dead Man's Blood, I've never heard this story, but supposedly production stopped due to a sniper scare. Is that true?
Yeah, we shut Stanley Park down for about probably 4 hours. We were doing the whole sequence of the car where the vampires get stopped by the car, and then we have to shoot a bunch of them with Dead Man's Blood and arrows and everything like that with crossbows.
Right.
Somebody in the park saw one of our crew walking through. It looked like something like he was carrying a gun. So he wasn't carrying a gun. He was just carrying something in a cylindrical thing that, to set. Not knowing it was part of our crew or not, but, so all of a sudden we are still getting ready to set up, and all of a sudden the emergency tactical team is starting to drive through Stanley Park, and we're starting to set up and everything. And basically we are shut down for a while because the police shut the park down. They tell us to go and, we're not sure they think there's a gunman in Stanley Park.
Oh my God.
They tell us to get all of our crew back to a safe place, which is where the circus was, which by the works yard. So we're all offset now.
Right.
And basically at one point in time, they find a vehicle that looks like something that might be a suspicious vehicle because it has a bunch of stickers that aren't really making his case very much. And then they call me down, and it's like, no, I go, no, I know who the crew member is. And it's like, no, he's probably one of our more stable crew members. So we call him down, they go to the vehicle, and then they realize that there's no gunman in Stanley Park, and we can start resuming filming by losing about 3 hours at this point in time.
That's a lot of time to lose.
Especially when we're doing a mix of day and night work.
Yeah.
Right.
Tony Warmby was the director of that one. Tony was from the BBC and a long time, BBC director, and he came onto the show because Kim brought him on because Kim worked with him on X-Files, and he just took it by stride, and got to work. He had got what he needed. We still had to carry some stuff because we had to are getting to our back end curfew. We couldn't finish off all of it, so we kind of kept some work which we rebuild in the studio with a forest background. So we were able to reschedule a bit more later on in the studio to finish off the sequence.
Wow. That's crazy. That'll shake you up.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that happened. It's insane.
So, we're getting set up, and all of a sudden all these vehicles are going through, and you see the guys, these are the tactical unit with submachine guns and everything, going, oh, something's going on.
Unreal. Wow. That's got to be kind of scary at first, just that time between knowing that it's actually you that they're there for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did have weapons on set, but the thing is, the weapons basically are all taken at this point in time by our armorer or somebody from the Solicitor General's office. So it's like anything prohibited we can have. It's just they're covered by somebody on set who's got all the paperwork for that.
Right.
I guess in a way it's a relief. Like if you hear there's a sniper and you're like, and then you find out, oh wait, it's us. At least that's you're no longer scared. You have to go through the proper steps and all that. But
sure,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure we made the traffic report that day. Stanley Park being shut down. I'm sure a whole bunch of people didn't really like probably their events being waylaid because of us. But I don't know what the whole news story went through at that point in time. They probably just said police incident in Stanley Park.
Right.
So
yeah, later in the run, it might have been something that was reported.
We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Richard Spate. You know what? It's 2024. It's a brand new year, and I bet you made some New Year's resolutions, and I bet one of them was to eat healthier. Well, you can get cranking on that resolution right now, my friend, with Factor. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, the prep work, the cooking fatigue. I'm getting tired just talking about it. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you will have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart this resolution off right. Forget frantic lunch prep and rush dinner making. That stinks. Factor's 2-minute meals, yes, I said 2 minutes, are your secret weapon in the new year. You get to fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals all delivered right to your door. It doesn't get any easier than that. And Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what's on the schedule. So I know what you're asking, Rich, how do I tap into this Factor magic? You head to factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 and use code SPNTAN50 to get 50% off. That's a lot off. That's code SPNTAN50 at factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 for 50% off. Make that resolution happen now and make it happen at a discount. Fantastic food that's healthy and delicious and delivered right to my door. Now that is how you start the new year off right.
The biggest winner in the big game could be you, thanks to BetMGM. The king of sportsbooks is offering new customers a chance to score $158 in bonus bets instantly. That's right, instantly. Just download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code Vegas58. Then place a $5 moneyline wager on the big game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of your wager's outcome. Don't miss your opportunity to cross the goal line on the money line as pro football's top teams clash for the championship. Can't be in Vegas for the big game? Then bring the big game excitement to you with the king of sportsbooks. BetMGM and GameSense reminds you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Iowa only. New customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF. That's 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Hey, guess what? We're back.
And now here's a question for you guys. There's a lot of moving parts in this episode. And obviously at this point, you've done, 10 episodes as the first AD?
On season 1, yeah. So 10 episodes from my 10 into it, yeah.
So this is sort of a recurring question we ask, but by now, is it a well-oiled machine? I mean, is it cruising at a pretty good clip in terms of production?
A lot of the hiccups and kinky moments did get worked out. So we stopped doing the 2 meals a day kind of thing. We stopped doing lunch and dinner meals. Got the hours kind of contained down a bit more, having some good seasoned directors come in to help with that.
Right.
The scripts were kind of curtailed down, so they weren't getting too far out of hand with things. I mean, this is past the mid-season pickup point, so we already had the whole season. So when we first started, it was only supposed to be 13 episodes with the possibility into the back 9.
Right.
So we're already into the back 9. We're just about finishing off the first season. So there's a bit of pressure off for that. And now as well as trying to make sure we get season 2 at this point in time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't find that out until after we wrapped and just before, sometime in May at that point in time.
And just to clarify one thing, when Kevin talked about they were getting the schedule down where they didn't require 2 meals, for those who don't know, you really don't want a second meal on set. That means your hours are going pretty long. You're hoping just to feed them once.
I mean, if you're an actor, you love it. It's another meal. It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, as a guy who's directed, the second they start talking about a second meal, you're like, oh, Boise, I'm in the weeds.
As a guy who never has, I'm going, ooh, what's for dinner?
For dinner, yeah. I don't have to think about where I'm going to go to dinner now.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was we finished. We stopped doing all the 2 meals a day kind of thing in like October-ish, or September. So we were getting better into that, to keeping the hours contained, and just making sure we were able to get the gags properly how we want to do them safely.
Right. And you mentioned this director being a vet, a veteran of the industry. So that sort of leads to an answer I think you might give. But you have a lot of characters in this and a lot of effects, a lot of vampires in the vampire den. Did it get overly complex? I mean, some scenes, some episodes of Supernatural were self-contained, where it'd be, Jared and Jensen and a priest talking. This one, you have a whole den of vampires. Did that make it more taxing and more challenging and a little more crazy?
In prep, yes. Once we finally got to, because it was all dealing with the vampire teeth and getting people in from vampire teeth, and it's all how many perform, how many stunt people, how many actors are in the den. Our budget usually indicated, I think we got it down to like 6 vampires in there, but 3 of them were stunt people for the fights and everything. And there were a couple actors in there as well. It was more the logistics on the day of making sure we could actually, not have all our support vehicles too far away. Like when we were in the barn, that whole barn area, it was all a shuttle too all the time.
Right.
We're about 5 minutes away, which is actually in today's standard close compared to what you got to do today in Vancouver.
So you're talking about you drive everyone to one location. That's where they get ready, get dressed, get makeup for the actors, and then you got to shuttle them to the actual location where you're shooting.
Yeah, I mean, and then with having Tony there, at least that he was able to say, "I'm not going to see this part of the building," so we can actually put some work trucks behind something. So we weren't always fully spread out. Like so the barn was the most challenging one.
And that's where the vampires lived, where they were sleeping in the hammocks. It looked really cozy to me.
Yeah, and then we had all the vintage cars out front too.
So
cool.
That's a practical location. None of that was a set.
No, that's all practical.
Was the room, where Jeffrey Dean Morgan goes into the room and throws a bottle at the window to let in light on the alpha vampire or the head of the clan? Was that a set, or was that?
I have to recall. I think that was a set we built for the separate room off the side.
Yeah, it felt like a set to me, only because of that lighting gag, because they had to throw the bottle through the window and have sunlight come in.
Yeah, no, that was
spoken like a true director. I'm still like, what's for dinner?
You're just like, hey, those actors got to take naps in hammocks, and there were a lot of second meals. It's like your dream gig.
It really is.
Rob wants a complete show where he gets fed twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and sleep all day. And then so vampires, though, so that means lots of nights. Were there lots of nights? Was this a lot of night hours on this one?
No, part of my job is also to make sure we can actually do things day for night, so we're not working all night. And my job is best to not do that. And we found some, like the barn location, we tented, got rid of a lot of the ambient light just by tenting it all, so we could actually shoot a lot of interior before we go outside. So
that's so great. That's
and when
so
you're
smart.
tenting that, so just so folks know, so you took an actual barn and wrapped it, in other material to be able to control the light so it looked like nighttime. What material are you using, or are the grips using for that?
It's called Dubatine. It's a big, thick black material that's also fire retardant. So at a certain point you can use it for close to flames. But yeah, that's basically the thick material. It doesn't let any light in whatsoever.
Gotcha.
Great. Like right now I'm shooting an indie film and it's all at night. And so we're working all nights and it's a real track. And, you talk about when we say well-oiled machine with Supernatural, we're talking about all parts. I mean, you go in and it's just like, shooting day for night. Everything's very efficient. There's a team that's thinking, okay, how can we get this in a certain number of shots?
Before we go into a location like that, we have an entire rigging crew that is basically, they are a step ahead of us the whole time they do the tenting before we get there. So they're all done. The lights are already set. So we walk in, there's not as long a lag time to get going. for us to suddenly, wait for everybody to basically tent the bird, the barn, and put some lights in the ceiling.
Right.
Yeah. With something like, do you remember the Colt montage of the making of the Colt gun? Weapon. With something like that, do you remember, was that a second unit shoot, or was that
whole thing was originally never in the script? That whole montage it was basically Jeffrey Dean, Dad comes out, that we see this is the first time we see the pickup truck with all the guns and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
The first time he pulls up in the truck. That whole montage wasn't in the original script. It was only after they cut it together, assembled it together, and noticed that it was a long time talking without any imagery changing. So we're basically in one episode ahead of that point in time, or two, and they called my wife in to come and basically, shoot some montage bits. But we basically just threw it together in the morning. In the afternoon, Jill showed up, and they gave her a camera. We had a guy playing Samuel Colt, which we didn't see his face because Samuel Colt came later back in a future episode.
Oh wow!
And then Jill just basically set up everything with having the Colt there, having the guns and the bullets and everything, and having a lighting effect in the forge and everything. So, so she was only expected to come in as just an additional camera operator, thinking we're going to just shoot some stuff. Well, she ended up having to basically, for all intents and purposes, direct the photography and light it, and basically kind of direct a bunch of sequences out of that.
Wow.
So Jill McLaughlin, your wife shot all the Colt footage in that episode. That's awesome.
All that footage, which actually made that sequence really well done.
Yeah. And did she come back? Did she come back and do more?
Yeah, she did some stuff. She did some stuff with Tall Tales. She basically worked, for the first 4 seasons, kind of worked with us. And then after that, she started going to do more other shows. So she was basically involved for the first 4 years.
It's awesome.
Were you husband and wife at that point?
Oh yeah, we've been married since '96. We just had our 25th anniversary last year.
Congratulations!
Oh, congratulations! I wasn't sure if it was like magic on set happening, romance on set.
Well, I mean, when is there magic not happening on set? You know what I mean?
We met on a show called Comrades of Summer back in the early '90s. Then we re-met on the X-Files rap party.
Wow!
For season 1.
Give you a new name for the X-Files, huh? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Make it a little dirty. So here's a question. It might be a sore subject, but did she have, when she was shooting that footage, was there a different AD working with her? And was that awkward for you to see another AD over there?
Yeah. No, my second at the time, Kit, was basically...
Kit, Hands Kit, they call him.
Kit kind of manned that. Jerry built some stuff for it, and Jill came in and basically, shot it.
Well, it's a good thing Kit kept his act together, kept it classy.
Kept his hands in his pockets.
Jill would have taken him out with a 50 mil conch.
That's true.
To the back of the head.
So, one of the things, Kevin, that I really like about this episode is it's really the first time we see the boys and Dad go on a mission together. And you almost start to think, oh, maybe this is going to be the show, sort of these 3 superheroes going on these missions together. How did the dynamic change when thinking about the 3 of them versus just Jared and Jensen? And
in terms of dynamics, it didn't really change much. It was basically brought in the story-wise, it brought more the idea of the animosity between Sam and Dad.
Yeah.
Also basically the Dean and Dad interactions. There was also that one point on the road where they're racing down, and all of a sudden the Impala pulls over to stop, and they get into a confrontation.
Yeah.
That brings up a whole bunch of Sam issues right there.
Yeah. And now in terms of offset, how was it more difficult because the 3 of them kind of hung out? Was it hard to wrangle them together?
No, they were fine at this point. Dad, he was very professional in terms of keeping on track with him, and their relationship was growing between the 3 of them. Cool. It wasn't until the season finale that it was basically kind of like, kindergarten.
Yeah, that's always been a challenge for you because we all on that set, we all got along really, really well, which causes us to goof around and goof off. And Kevin's got to keep us in track.
Rob trying to lengthen the day, waiting for that second meal.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this. I know there's a lot of, like, the vampire teeth are a big deal. Later in the show, as the seasons moved on, they would do digital teeth growth and that kind of thing. They had a visual effect here of the teeth coming in.
Yeah. That again, that's a before and after. So you have the real teeth, and then also the vampire teeth changed throughout the years. They never were always the same. I mean, it's like I don't know. That was more of a creative why they kept changing, but we always tried to get a little more lower profile through the later parts, so people can actually speak with the teeth in, which was a challenge. But no, there was always, if we wanted to see the teeth grow, there was a shot set aside for the teeth growing. So it's like basically you shoot a close up with them smiling with no teeth in. Pause, you put the teeth in, and the visual effects makes the teeth grow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Were they using the blood effects? Because there's a lot, like that girl's like bleeding herself and then making out with the other girl with the blood. Like, is any of that, obviously some of that's practical, but with any of the blood, visual effect blood? I mean, or at this point, was everything practical because it was so long ago in the process?
At this point in time, the blood, anything blood was real blood. We didn't get it because, again, all our visual effects at this point were, the biggest thing happened in season 1, the visual effects were shipped off to a visual effects house.
Right.
So everything was basically a lot more expensive. In season 2, we brought all the visual effects in-house. So that's when we had the trailers off the side of the studio with all our animators in there and the visual effects. So the visual effects, we were able to do more in seasons 2 and onward. But season 1, no, there was, all the blood was real. It's either been a blood pump or we cut and you put blood in their mouth and they do what they have to with them, which I'm sure you two as actors would know, because it really tastes really well to have fake blood in your mouth, right?
Right.
No, not so much.
Not the best. There were other, there's like beheadings going on.
Lots of those, yeah.
And that's just a quick camera cut, right? You see a sword go down and then...
No, it's in terms of like filming, it's a lock off the camera.
Uh-huh.
You basically put the person, and this is where Jared and Jensen are really good with repeating everything they do.
Uh-huh.
You do a plate with the person there, with Jared or Jensen behind them. They swing up to the point of taking the hit in the neck, stop. Then the person, you take them out and just shoot their plate clean. Then take the vampire out, put our guys back in, and they do the whole swipe through with the machete, and then visual effects will they take the head off in post.
Wow.
Sometimes it gets more complicated with some other shows where you actually have to bring a thing called a video switcher in, where you kind of line them up so that they actually do it consistently. Jared and Jensen were apt to say some of the best too for repeating their action without having to actually see themselves actually with the actor there.
Right. Hey, you know so much. Eventually, you directed an episode or more than one episode?
I directed 2 episodes, one in season 8 and one in season 9.
Wow.
We haven't talked about his nickname, Rob. Kevin has a very specific nickname.
Remind me?
Parksopedia.
Right, because he remembers everything.
He remembers literally everything from the show. And I know that you could literally turn to him. I'm like, how do ghosts get through doorways? And then he will tell you which episode established something, but then down the road, which episode changed it. And this is the thing, Kevin, you remember the titles of the episode. It's not just in season 2, we did this. You're like, 205, the devil wears a blue dress. They do this. I'm like, man, that is amazing.
Like he remembered this one was called Dead Man's Chest.
Exactly.
I remember on the last season, someone was going, you throw the name of an episode and they try to remember what season it was from.
Yeah, they tried playing that game a few times.
Yeah, they're going to lose. I mean, nobody can stump Kevin Parksopedia. It was a great resource because remember, before there was Wiki anything, there was Parksopedia. Like, right. Back when you couldn't just quickly Google it to see, oh, wow, which blade does what.
Right.
Kevin remembered everything, which was pretty fantastic.
I like Parksopedia, but not Wikiparks, because it could be Wikiparks.
Wikipedia didn't exist then when they started that name.
Wow, that's true, Kevin. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, no, there was
That's
no
insane.
Wikipedia.
So, I mean, you've just compiled so much knowledge of the show, and you're just so good at what you do. And we were so lucky to have worked with you and to have had you on the show.
Oh, man. Hardest job on the set being a first assistant director, first AD. Hardest job on the set.
I have to also say, though, I mean, it makes it easier when this cast came together basically through multiple seasons. But I don't know any other show where the cast get along so well from season 1 to season 15.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't know what your character was, Richard, until later after that you were just kind of a trickster that came in to become an archangel.
Right.
And who knew that you ended up being God?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's pretty remarkable how things unfolded in this show. And yet the through line of it all was obviously Jared and Jensen. But, I mean, you were there from episode 1 through the end. And, man, you're great at your job. Rob and I both seen you do it. I've seen you do it as an actor. I've worked with you as a director. And it's you're really good at what you do, man. So
Kevin, that's the other part of it, Kevin. Richard and I have we've been around, guest starred in so many different shows and even since Supernatural. And it's there's no Kevin Parks. There isn't. There just isn't. You see people do your job and you're like, man, no, you set a standard. You really did, Kev.
I will also say this. When you go to another show, like any show on television, and ask them a Supernatural trivia question, none of the ADs know it. I mean, it's only Kevin Parks, You go over to NCIS and go, in Supernatural season 4, they don't know anything. I mean,
they don't know it.
It's crazy.
What?
It's complete waste.
They're doing with their show though.
Their shows don't last long enough. Like nothing goes 15 years. Dude, you're seriously the best of the best, and not only that, but a great guy and a great friend, and it's great to have you on here.
Yeah, we hope you'll come back and talk to us again.
Yeah, anytime. Give a shout whenever you want to do this again.
We will.
Maybe we'll have to do a segment where we're gonna have to go to the
Trivia time with
yeah.
Parksopedia. Exactly. Seriously, Kevin, thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Excellent, no problem. Good to see you guys again too.
You too.
Hey there, this is Richard Spate, and I hope you're enjoying this episode, but we need to pull over for a second for some messages. Thanks for listening. Now, back to the episode.
So great to see Kevin. So great to talk to him.
And literally, the guy knows every detail about the show. Every piece of trivia or non-trivia you'd ever want to know about Supernatural is stored in that man's brain.
It really is. And we really meant what we said. He's so good at what he does. And his mind works so quick, almost faster than his mouth can talk. He said, well, you're going to need this. You're going to need to put that in. And then we're going to want to come over to that. And he speaks, he doesn't speak like, what I love about him is that he I'm very much an actor. I look at everything through the actor's lens. And he's very much the opposite. He's looking at everything. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, do I have to cry in this scene? And he's thinking, well, it's raining outside, so we need to get that. And we're going to come and do shoot day for night. And then we'll come. You know what I mean? He's like,
yeah.
So technical.
He's got a lot of spinning plates as part of his job, for sure.
Well, let's get into our segments here. It's time for mythology. All right, let's talk about the Colt. The Colt is an 1836 Texas Patterson, one of the first Colt revolvers ever made. This gun was originally built to be muzzle loaded. What does that mean, Rich?
Loaded from the front as opposed to into the barrel. You shove it in the muzzle. You would drop almost like the Civil War style.
Yeah, like they used to do.
Right. A Latin inscription, non timebo mala, is along the barrel of the gun. It means it's not time for an apple.
No.
Oh, sorry. It means I will fear no evil. And is taken from Psalms 23. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And they never really mentioned that. That's a great little piece of triv. The gun has a pentagram on the handle, which is often confused as a sign of devil worshipping.
Right.
But actually, the pentagram is a pagan symbol for protection, which is why it is used for the supernatural anti-possession tattoos.
Also, people don't know this, but the pineapple is a sign of welcoming.
That's not, is it?
Yeah. So if you go to a home, there's a pineapple flag, they're welcoming you to their home.
Why?
I don't know. Carve that under the handle of the Colt.
Okay. That's why you never killed any vampires.
This is the first time Sam and Dean and John have hunted together since Sam left for college. Back then, they were hunting for quail.
That's right. Oh, that's sweet, though. He left for college. And
isn't that cute?
We missed him. The vampiric myths and stories of creatures with similar qualities have been around since ancient Greece. Modern takes on vampires typically have their roots in folklore from the 17th and 18th century Eastern Europe. And Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula is arguably the quintessential vampire legend.
It's different than his 1897 novel, which was...
I was going to say novella. For some reason. But Dracula's not a novella.
Also not mentioned in this piece of trivia, Bat Boy, who's on the cover of many a newspaper in the checkout aisle at the grocery store, is not a real boy. One similarity between vampire lore that the novel Dracula and Supernatural share is that sunlight doesn't kill or burn vampires, but it does slow them down because they know they need the vitamin D, so they try to soak in as many rays as they can.
That's true. They're just a sucker for that sun.
Sucker? Good one, Robbie.
See, I'm a genius and I didn't even know it. Hey, get ready for fun facts.
These are so fun, I'm laughing already.
Kripke didn't want to cover vampires. He felt Buffy the Vampire Slayer had covered that territory, and he wanted to avoid that comparison. As it got later in the season and the show had defined itself, he loosened up on that a little bit.
That plus the writers ran out of ideas.
Yeah. No, but I thought it was when we see the priest at the beginning, I'm like, oh, he's a hunter. He's a vampire hunter. Because we really haven't had that into this universe yet.
No, and I like their whole take on the vampires, the whole crazy teeth that are real effed up teeth. They're real jacked up. The co-writer, Catherine Humphreys, wanted to do vampires from the start. She's always been very, very pro-vampire. She started the series as John Schibon's assistant and got the chance to write this episode with her boss. Turns out she is a child of the night and one of the undead, so this story was very near and dear to her heart.
The combination to the safe in David Elkin's letters 38211 is a reference to the date of Mary Winchester's death, 11/2/83.
Oh my God, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Co-writer John Schibon says the retractable teeth are based on sharks' multiple rows of retracting teeth. Also, his co-writer, Catherine Humphreys, is of the undead and knew a lot about vampire teeth and confirmed that that's how they really function.
She's coming for you, man. Catherine Humphreys is coming for you. I did notice that. It was very Jaws-like when the teeth came out.
Yeah, they're trippy.
Not your typical...
Real grody. By the way, did you notice that like Kevin Parks was like, oh, vampire teeth, they changed over the years. They didn't say the same. And I'm like, well, that's, yeah, Kevin Parks, because, vampires are, they're not all the same. They're not cookie cutter. Like you and I have different teeth.
Yeah, that's good for you. It's good for you for pointing that out because it needs to be acknowledged.
I just don't want
to
every
vampire is the same.
Yeah, let's not paint vampires as some weird sort of unholy corner.
Yes, good. Thank you. The Vampire Union thanks you. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. All you vampires and non-vampires out there. We share some of our favorite moments from the episodes on Instagram and Twitter. So follow us and please... Yeah, of course we do. Somebody does it for you. Just follow us and please share them. Get the word out there about this podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Rob Benedict and at Dick Spate, SP8, the number 8, JR. Or on Instagram, that's the same for Rich.
But you're Ro Benedict.
But I'm Ro Benedict on Instagram because I put it in a hurry, and I was with you in Seattle, and I was like, I gotta get this Instagram, and you're kind of showing me how to do it. You took me to the very first Starbucks, and literally I was inside the door, like doing it real quick with my shaky hands, and I typed it out wrong.
Is that right? That's the story of why you're Ro Benedict on Instagram.
Yeah, it's a spelling error. I forgot to put 2 B's in there.
Well, for those who are tracking him down, it's either Ro Benedict or Rob Benedict, whichever you prefer.
That's right. So we published that and a lot of other cool stuff too. So
yeah, you got to check out Rob. Rob's all over Instagram, man. He posts a bunch of crap. I'm not so good at it, but you're like, follow Rob Benedict. Like that's and Story Mill Media. Those guys.
You're Mr. Twitter, so follow you on Twitter. You do.
Yeah, that's fair. I tweet more, and I read. Sometimes when people tweet at me, I'll read. Like you don't read. You have a blanket policy of I ain't reading jack crap, but I'll read a couple things.
I don't read a lot.
Maybe reply, but that's not your bit. But you're good on the Instagram.
I am. So listen, we have a big announcement. Rich, I'd like you to make it for the people. Big announcement time.
Okay, Trey Booty, make this sound sexy. Big announcement. The podcast now has its own dedicated social media handles on Twitter and Instagram. What? They are the same address, and they are thusly at SPN Then and Now.
Yes, I love it. We're out there. We're in the world. We mean something, Richard.
We have arrived.
So now you don't have to bear witness to all the other jibber-jabber Story Mill puts out there on social. You can follow, interact, and engage with us on Twitter and Instagram at SPN Then and Now.
Yeah, man. We'll be checking it out and getting back to you ASAP.
All right, bye, everybody. This episode stars Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester and Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester.
Guest stars feature Jeffrey Dean Morgan as John Winchester.
Co-stars included Terrence Kelly as Daniel Elkins, Anne Ovenshaw as Kate, and Warren Christie as Luther. Dead
Man's Blood was written by Catherine Humphreys and John Schibon, directed by Tony Warmby. Dead Man's Chest is an idea that Rob came up with while interviewing Kevin Parks.
Well, and also maybe a Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Yeah, but you were really just looking at a man's chest.
Editing by Bruce Gorman. Music by Jay Gruska.
Executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The original broadcast of the episode featured some amazing music that we didn't hear because we listened to it on Netflix. Strange Face of Love by Tito and Tarantula, and House is a Rockin' by Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Those were definitely not in the Netflix versions we watched.
No.
The episode originally aired on April 10th, 2006.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
What's up, buddy? Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media. You and your dumb notes. I mean, your great notes.
You're an asshole. At first, I thought that said when the series started, she was John Schibon.
This is the first time. Wait a minute. I get to say the dumb next one.
All right, ready for the outro?
Yeah. Not only it's philanthropic and sexy at the same time. You nailed it.
Story Mill Media.